we do a thing here on this channel, which I think you guys might enjoy. If you like to keep pace with what's going on in World of Warships, I do a news segment. If this works, it's gonna be great. If not, I'm gonna stop it. We're gonna fix it, and we're gonna try this again. So let's try it. Nope, didn't work. There we go. Okay, I think it's gonna work now. All right, guys. Thank you very much. Scotta has sorted out his Prime sub. Hey, thanks, Scotta, for the Prime sub. I am a big fan. Thank you. Again, as I always say, no one here has to sub, but I do appreciate if you guys decide that you want to support the channel. That's fantastic. This is not my job, so, you know, again, you guys can totally hang out here for free. That is ideal. In fact, I encourage it. If you decide to throw a sub my way, I won't complain. But anyway, thanks. I did not say anything of the kind. All right, what we do around here, guys, a little special segment we call the news. Let's get into it. That's all slander and lies. I was not holding a knife. I did not threaten Scotta and say he had to sub my channel. There are a bunch of things going on in World of Warships today, and we, unsurprisingly, are going to talk about them. Welcome to the news. My name's Clyde. This is the news. First things first, new news as of today. We've got some Italian destroyers showing up here. Let's go over them. Tiers 2 all the way through Tier 10. Very exciting stuff. I love destroyers. You guys know I am a destroyer player here. Not particularly amazing at them, but I like them. And so a new destroyer line is a big deal for me. Let's take a look at this. It says new Italian Tier 2 to 10 destroyers as well as Pan-American Tier 8 battleship Atlantico have been added to the game for testing. I'm excited about that too. We have a picture down below. It's in the upcoming season of session of closed testing, we will be adding more Italian destroyers to the game. Here's a list of their names, and then here are a bunch of not photographs, but images of these different ships. The low tier ones are fine. They look interesting. They look sort of pseudo-British. Look at these guns. In fact, let's take a look at that one in a new tab. Look at these guns. They look kind of like they could be British. You know, it's kind of hard to say exactly where these boats came from. Then they start looking a little bit different. If you see this ship, you might think that it kind of reminds you of the boat I just played. It looks a little bit like a Russian destroyer. Not that it is a Russian destroyer, but this smokestack looks kind of Russian. This turret looks totally new to me, so I find that to be kind of interesting. And this rounded bridge is pretty great. Yeah, thank you, Maestro Hulk. I'm going to need it. Maestrale. I'll try some funny stuff, but I will be wrong. If there are Italians here, please do not be offended, but definitely stick around and help us with pronunciation. We want to be good, but we know we will be bad. When you get up above Tier 5, we start getting the barber pole, which is one of the coolest thing about any of the Italian ships. They get that red and white stripes. Historically, this was there, so I've been told, so that Italian aircraft would not bomb friendly ships. No fratricide or friendly fire against their own ships. This ship looks kind of interesting as well. The Aviere, which has the barber pole there. Again, kind of unique turrets we haven't seen before because Italy was probably building its own armaments and things for this and wasn't necessarily buying those ships from others. But take a look at this guy. Take a look at this rounded bridge. Does that look familiar? Does it look like any ship you've ever seen before? Maybe it does. Maybe it doesn't. As we move along down, we come down here to the Tier 8. This starts to look like a legit ship. Look at this thing. This is a snack. You got these giant torpedo launchers here with what looks like maybe 5 torpedoes, 3 on the bottom and 2 up top. We see that rounded bridge again with this smokestack. GMAC may be on top of things. Here we go. We're getting there. As we continue down to Tier 9, we got the Adriatico, and now this starts to look Adriatico. This starts to look very much like the ship GMAC was calling out, the Tashkent. Now we know Tashkent is a destroyer that was built by the Italians for the Russians. So this similar design language starts to make sense. It says destroyers 2 through 7 and 10 are based on actual ships, and just as Angelic said, 8 and 9 are apparently paper ships. Vittorio Cuniberti, project of a destroyer project, which is an evolution of the Maestrale class with a more powerful artillery and torpedo armament. Adriatico is a project of large, well-armed ships armed with 135mm artillery. I don't know of any other ships that have 135s, so I think that's kind of interesting. So I'll be kind of interested to see how those wind up working out. And is in many respects similar to the Soviet destroyer Tashkent. which was built in Italy. All ships of the new branch have high damage per minute, but extremely low range on their main caliber guns. And we're going to look at the specs for the high tier ships down below, so hang with me a little bit longer. The guns are equipped with SAP and HE shells. In addition, the Italian destroyers are armed with long-range torpedoes. The new ships are equipped with exhaust smoke generator. That's just like what you see on the Italian battleships, cruisers, and the Paolo Emilio, that exhaust smoke which can go as fast as you can, so you can be trucking along at top speed in these ships and still be inside your smoke screen. And that starts at tier 8 with the emergency engine power consumable as well. That's interesting. That must be a little bit different from the engine boost. That might be the 20% version of engine boost. I'm not sure what that means. If you guys know in chat, let me know. If we take a look at this ship, this is a premium tier 7 destroyer that's going to come out. This one is based on a French design. I guess the narrative here is that it was captured by the Italians. It's got a cool camouflage on it. I think this is a good looking ship. I hope it's a great performing ship, because a nice tier 7 premium would be pretty cool. It's a Guépard class destroyer, which is what Z says, built for the French Navy with its anti-aircraft guns replaced with Italian ones. The ship differs from other Italian destroyers in that it has an increased main battery firing range, which is compensated by a reduced torpedo range. The FR-25 is equipped with Italy's signature exhaust smoke generator. That could be a really cool ship, and I hope that it winds up being something that is worth buying. This ship doesn't look like a tier 8 to me, but maybe it is. I don't know. It's the tier 8 Pan-American battleship Atlantico. Yeah, look at this monster, dude. It is a big old ship. So this is the first battleship that we're getting. Are they 234s? Really? Well, we're going to read about it here in a second. This is the first battleship we're getting for the Pan-American line. Atlantico is a battleship with British main caliber guns and secondary armament, as well as American dual-purpose and AA artillery. The battleship is armed with 10 381mm guns that come in 5 twin turrets. The ship's only equipped with armor-piercing projectiles, which is something we haven't really seen. I think this is the first time we've seen single armament type on main guns for a battleship. In addition to the standard damage control party and repair party, the ship also has hydroacoustic search, so we're going to have hydros on this thing. Let's go ahead down into the ship's characteristics. I'm going to skip a bunch of these low-tier ships. We're going to go all the way down to the bottom and then scroll up to the Attilio Regolio, the tier 10 destroyer, to talk about what they mean by extremely short range and extremely high damage output, or what did they say, DPM. Hit points, they say, is 26,800 on the Attilio Regolio with a 19mm armor. 19mm armor is pretty standard fare for most high-tier destroyers. There are a few, like the Khabarovsk and the Elbing, that have thicker armor, but primarily destroyers are going to have 19mm armor. Some of them even have lower. They have 16 or 13mm armor. The main battery is 135mm guns. We get 4 turrets of 2 each, so that does increase the amount of shells that it can put out by having a 4th turret. A lot of our high-tier destroyers only have 3. You guys are probably familiar with that. But look at this firing range, 8.5 kilometers. That is an extremely ridiculous firing range for a destroyer at tier 10. That, to me, really turns me off of this design. I'm not very excited about that idea. Now, obviously, I know this is the base. We can expand it with captain perks and with modules and things, so you should be able to push that up. I'm guessing you'll be able to get it up to something like 11, maybe 13 kilometers, 12 kilometers. I'd have to do some math and think about it. Maybe you guys have already done that math. But definitely not stoked about this. Enigmatic Enigma is dropping some rhymes, man. What's up, Enigmatic? Maximum HE HE shell damage is going to be 1950. Maximum SAP shell damage, remember, no AP, we're doing SAP instead, is 3050. Armor pen for the HE is 23 mil, with 38 mils of pen for the SAP shells. The reload time on these guns is 5 seconds, which is not particularly fast, but when you remember you've got a 4th turret, you might be able to get a little bit more work done than you think. And of course, if you increase that reload time, it's way, way faster than the Paolo Emilio's reload, which I think is double digits when you first unlock that ship. So there may be something to this short range high rate of fire or high DPM output type build. But man, at the moment, I'm a little concerned about it personally. They do have extremely high velocity, not extremely, but fairly high velocity shells at 875. I'd like them to be 950s, but if you're so close, maybe that doesn't matter. You'd be just fine. The torpedoes are pretty interesting as well. If you take a look at what we're doing with torps, we've got 13,900 max damage, a range of 13.5k, but they're slow. They're like the other Italian torpedoes that we've seen, 56 knots with a 90-second reload time. That should obviously allow you to do quite a bit of stealth torpedoing, but at ranges beyond, you know, say 10, it's going to be really hard to hit anything with a 56-knot torpedo. And honestly, even at 10 kilometers, it's not as easy as it would be if those things could go another 10 or even 20 knots. So you're not going to probably be a solely torpedo boat. You're going to want to find yourself some opportunities to use the guns. Torpedo detectability is extremely low, though. Look at that 1 kilometer, which is pretty great. AA defense, I'm not going to try to break this down right now, but the available maximum speed is 41 knots. That's quick, but not amazing. It does have a emergency engine power. This gives you a 25% speed boost. That's more than I thought it was going to be. I thought it might just be the 20% like we see on the French line. 25% speed boost is, I think, the largest I've seen. I don't think there's a ship that does more than 20 right now. So that's pretty amazing. 25% of 41 is going to be about 10 seconds, a little bit more, 10 and a quarter. So you're going to get up to over 50 knots, which is pretty fast. If you get a coal turbo booster module and slap it on there, if such a thing exists for emergency engine power, if that's considered to be a different type than regular engine boost, that could be really fast and could last for a very long time. Might be something to consider. Tier 7, the FR-25, 19,000 hit points, 5 single-barrel guns, 139 mils, which is technically a larger caliber than we have on the Attilio. However, the sap damage is reduced because of its tier. You're going to see 8-kilometer torpedoes, 68 knots, so much more traditional kind of torpedo speeds, a little quick actually, and ranges for a Tier 7 guy. But with the exhaust smoke, you could do Paolo runs on a budget, I think, with the FR-25. That destroyer looks interesting to me. I'm kind of excited about the FR-25. We'll see what all this stuff costs when it comes out. And of course, we'll see how the tech line boats do. I feel like these guys might get a small range buff before this thing is over, and maybe to compensate for that, maybe they'll reduce some of the damage. But maybe not, you know. Maybe if you modify or you build for range, you can get up to, you know, mid-12s or maybe low 13s, and they're going to say good enough, you know. I'm gonna guess it's probably mid-12s or upper 12s. Anyway, that is a whole new ship line that is coming. It's currently in closed tests, so we got plenty of time before this is going to happen. But new Italian destroyers are on the way. Our next story today is a closed test to some changes of ship detection by airplanes. And when I first read this, it reminded me a lot of World of Tanks. And if you guys are WOT players, you'll know a little bit about how spotting works in that game. If you're not, we'll just talk about how the airplanes are going to work. I'm not going to confuse you with World of Tanks terminology. The way this is going to work in this test, now again, this is not confirmed, this is a test, is a concept called radio. Enemies detected by planes will be displayed for the whole team on the minimap. Just like when you first hit radar, and for that first 4 or 5 seconds, you can only see them on the minimap unless you're the player who used radar. However, only allies who are within a certain radius of the squadron that is detecting the ship will see the actual model of the ship. That is, when you look out in front of your ship, you would actually see the ship modeled there. Basically, they're modeling the idea that you're within radio communication range of the aircraft that is spotting the ship. As long as it does not become detected by allied ships themselves. So that means that if you drove towards the ship while the airplanes were spotting it and came into regular ship-to-ship spotting range, that would spot that ship for the rest of your allies. So in a situation where an airplane is spotting a ship and a surface ship is spotting the ship, it's still spotted for everybody. If just an airplane is spotting it, only ships within the radio communication range of that aircraft are going to be able to see the ship rendered in the 3D world in front of their ship. In addition, a new consumable will also be tested, a reconnaissance aircraft designed for spotting enemy ships so that allies can fire. It can be dropped or deployed the same way that fighters are, but instead of attacking enemy airplanes, it instead allows nearby allies to see the enemy ships that it is detecting. This concept is being tested will separate the two main tasks associated with the detection of aircraft, or enemy detection. Aircraft carriers will still be able to gather information about enemy team movements, but the concentration of fire on the target they detect will be lower. So that last sentence really drives home some interesting concepts. It's basically saying that what they're hoping to do with this is reduce the number of ships that can suddenly shoot at you when you're spotted by airplanes, and also still allow aircraft carriers to be engaged with that part of the game, that spotting part of the game. I think this is interesting. It's kind of an, you could call it a nerf to aircraft carriers, but really it's more of a buff to ships that are being spotted by aircraft carriers. And I think, honestly, if you're within radio range of those airplanes, you're still going to be in a lot of danger. So I think it's still valuable for an aircraft carrier to make these kinds of spotting maneuvers and make that stuff work. I don't know. What do you guys think about this? I think this is really interesting. But as I kind of mull this over and get to be thinking about it some more, I'll probably come up with an idea. I think right now I kind of like the idea, although it does make spotting a little bit more complicated. But luckily, it's similar to other mechanics we've got right now with radar. In fact, Angelic mentions the radar change a while back. And Tim says, as long as the reconnaissance airplane doesn't last forever, I'm sure there would be a reasonable time limit. It might even be a little bit short for the carrier player's opinion, honestly. I think it's going to help those small ships that, get spotted, and then all of a sudden there's a guy in a Slava 27 kilometers away who's just a dead eye who can just drop giant 406 millimeter shells right onto your destroyer and blow you up. That's not going to be possible anymore if this becomes the way that airplane spotting works in the future. Okay, next story is information on the content and drop rates of Santa's gift containers. This is information that a lot of us have been waiting for. Now, first, I want to go to this post back from October. This was from 25th of October, where it talked about what you're going to get for each of your snowflakes. We already know that. We're collecting those things now, but it also tells us what it's going to cost to get the various Santa containers for the New Year event that's coming up. So Santa's gift containers, those are the cheapest ones, will cost 1 certificate. The big gifts will cost 3, and the megas will cost 5. So for somebody who has 20 tier 10 ships, you'll be able to get 20 certificates, and then you can spend those however you want on Santa's gift, big gift, or Santa's mega gift containers. With that in mind, you guys probably have some idea of how many tier 10 ships you have, I hope. And so you can kind of figure roughly how many of those tokens you're going to get. We close that one. In fact, I'm going to leave that one open. We come over here to these different things. Z says he's got 46. Nice. Santa's gift containers. First of all, I want to say this really quickly. There are a lot of great prizes you can get out of the gift containers, but most people care about ships. Ships are probably the most exciting drop that come out of these things, but there are some other really great stuff in here. That said, we all care about ships pretty much the most. So that's what I'm going to focus on. A Santa's gift container, this is the cheapest one that you can get for the New Year's tokens, is going to have the following drop rates. For a tier 5 through 7 ship, a 2% chance. For a tier 8 through 9 ship, a 0.4% chance. And for a tier 10 ship or a rare ship, I'll show you guys the list here in a little bit, those will be 0.1% chance. Okay, so the Santa's gift containers are cheap. You can get a lot of them for 1 token a piece, and it's going to be a pretty low chance to get ships, 2%, 0.4%, and 0.1%, for a total of a 2.5% chance to get any ship with a drop for a Santa's gift container. Santa's big gift container is this next one. A total chance for a ship of 9%, broken up like this. Tier 5 through 7 ships is going to be 7%. Tier 8 and 9 ships, 1.5%, and Tier 10 or rare ships, 0.5% chance. Again, a total ship drop chance of 9%, but broken up, obviously weighted for those lower tier ships from tiers 5 through 7. If you look at Santa's mega gift, we've got a 16% chance for getting a ship of any kind. And remember, those ships come with a port slot and a commander as well. I think that's true of all of these tiers. I think it's the same for all of them. Yeah, 10-point commander and everything. Spline, thanks for the follow. For the mega gifts, we are looking at a 16% chance, like I said, 12% chance for the 5 through 7s, 3% chance for the 8s and 9s, and a 1% chance for the tier 10 or rare ships. So let's take a look at the ship lists real quickly. They have all of this information in here. It is all available for everybody to look at. Now, before we talk about that, I want to talk about this. If a container drops an item from the ships group, you will receive a ship that you do not already have. I'm reading right here, guys. The chances of obtaining a ship of a certain type from a container, for example, Santa's Big Gift, never change. If you already have all of the ships of a particular group, the drop chances of this group are distributed between the groups of ships you do not already have in your collection. If you already have all of the ships from the list and the Santa's Gift container drops an item from the ships group, you will receive one of the following as compensation. You'll get 250 steel for Santa's Gift, 750 steel for Santa's Big Gift, or 1250 steel Mega Gift container. The contents of each container are determined randomly at the moment it is opened on the basis of the chances that are indicated above. In other words, all of this junk that we just read through or skipped over because it wasn't about ships. You will receive the stated drop chances do not precisely represent how many containers you need in order to get the items that you want. In other words, if I'm going to use a number that wasn't a real number up there, if you have a 10% chance to get a ship out of this container and you buy 10 boxes, there's no guarantee that you're going to actually get 10. You're going to get one ship out of 10. That's not guaranteed, but every single ship container you open will have a 10% chance. So you could, of course, pathologically open 100 containers and get no ships, but the odds of that, of course, over time tend to indicate that you'd get down to around 10%, a 10% chance to get a ship. Let's see, we got a few comments over here. Scott says flags, talking about non-ship prizes that you might get. Bravo Sierra says low percent drops for ships. I'm going to save my money to whale on the Marlboro dockyard instead. Yeah, that might be a good way to go, right? You're not too worried about getting random ships. You're interested in the Marlboro. Go get Marlboro. Do the dockyard instead. Scott says I appreciate the chance to get the premium time. That the chance to get premium time is lower. Yeah, I get a lot of premium from all these special boxes. That's for sure. First time chatter, oh my gosh, why can't I read? Franson SG says, starting to think the same as you, haha. Not sure what I'll do yet, but guaranteed steal or low chance of getting stuff from Santa crates. Yeah, definitely. Franz will be much easier for me, thank you. Welcome to the stream, Franz. Yeah, so let's take a look at the list of ships. Rare and tier 10 ships. Now remember, the percentages we saw for these were never very high. These are going to be tough ships to get unless you've whaled in and you own like tons of these ships. So it's stuff like Thunderer, Ayate, or Smollett. Things like... Now what's interesting is there's a bunch of coal ships and stuff in here as well. There's boats in here like Musashi, Benham, Alaska, Friesland, Kronstadt. Interestingly, a lot of coal ships that you can get for coal. So if you already, if you whale into these ships and get coal boats, it accelerates your way to get a boat that's actually easy to get, but takes a long time. And so it might be one of those things where with, you might go in there and you might get a boat that's for coal, like Napoli, right? I don't have the Napoli. If I get a rare and tier 10 ship drop that's the Napoli, I might be a little smug about that because I can get the Napoli for coal if I just am patient. I can't get things like Benham, for example, or I can't get Jean Bart for coal. I have to get that for money. Lego Party is throwing... I think Lego Party, you're throwing down this link. This is the blog link I'm reading, guys, if you guys want to look at it yourself. I gotcha. Benham is filthy. I love it. Welcome to the stream, Lego. Glad you're here, bud. So anyway, lots of great ships in here, guys. And remember what we just read above. If you already have one of these ships, you're not going to get it again. You're not going to get doubloons or whatever for it. They're going to re-roll you a different ship in that collection, in that container. There's also the tier 7 and 9 8 and 9 ships. Lots of great stuff in here. Stuff like... as I say, there's lots of great stuff in here. There's Pommern in here. Things like Constellation is actually relatively new. If you're interested in Gascon, that's a pretty cool ship, actually. I like Roma a lot. Wichita, Cheshire, Belfast 43. There's actually OG Belfast in the lower list as well, down at tier 7. So there's a lot of great options in here. Otago's a great boat. Kidd is a fantastic boat. So there's good stuff in here, but the odds are not great. Now, I saw all of this today, and I'm a software developer by trade, or at least I used to be. Now I just talk to software developers. So I took a little time and I wrote up some code to do a bunch of math. And I'm going to make a video about this math that talks about which containers are the best deal. I think there's a lot of people who've done this math over the years, and historically, and I'll spoiler it for you a little bit, for this year, the mega gift containers tend to result in the most ships. Not the most tier 10 ships, not the most tier 7 ships, just the most ships in general. And I've got some math that I'm gonna make into a video. Like I said, we'll publish that, and I'll put a lot of information in there that talks about how, depending on how many tokens you have, this is your expected outcome of number of ships that you're gonna get. And then I calculate all of the different combinations of different ways you can spend your tokens to get containers, and determine the best way for you to get the most likelihood of getting the most ships. I'm pretty sure I've got my math right. I'm not ready to share this with you guys today because I don't think it's perfect. But if you subscribe to my YouTube channel, you can definitely check it out if you guys want to jump in there and get a hold of that, which is pretty cool. So yeah, that is pretty much everything I wanted to talk about here. I just wanted to let you guys know that there's a ton of information out available about this information, or about this upcoming thing. I love that they gave us the drop rates. Thank you, Wargaming. I also don't love that the drop rates are so low. And I think folks who don't get a lot of tokens, folks who have less than 20 or so tier 10 ships, you're not likely to get a lot of ships out of this. However, if you get any, that's great. And remember, the other rewards are good too. But that might help you decide how much whaling you want to do on this kind of stuff. I want you guys to just be aware that when you're spending your money, this is kind of what it means. Thomas is gifting a tier 1 sub to Daddy O Newman. Thank you, Thomas. Newman, enjoy it. Let's hit those gents with a couple of emotes there. Top guy for Thomas. Thanks, man. Much appreciated. Okay, you guys we're making this news segment go long. The other thing I wanted to do was there's a player here by the name of Rainbow Farting Unicorn who put together a wonderful Santa's gift container blog post, and I'm going to post this link in here as well if you guys want to check that out. It's on the World of Warships forum. There's a lot of information about the ships, their rarity, when they were pulled, when they were added. This is useful information. If you're watching this later on YouTube, I'll have all the links that I talk about down in the description as well below. So please take a look at that information and educate yourself a little bit further. That is all I think I have to say today on the news. That's the stuff. We got brand new Italian destroyers coming. We've got a new British battleship. We've got drop rates for the Christmas containers, and we've got some interesting stuff. Thomas says, let's do the outro, and I think he's right.
This has been the news on Clyde Plays Live.